bino mwabirabye jaji namanya bye yakoze Bernard bwe yagambye nti Nalukoola ave mu parliament takyamwetaaga kumulabayo kati nabaka parliament basituse bagamba bino
I've seen the ruling from court declaring the seat vacant and faulting the Electoral Commission. Of course, we uphold the rule of law, we respect the rule of court, but there are circumstances that put a question on the happenings and the way court arrived at its decision. For instance, why the tremendous speed?
Yeah.
We've had electoral petitions taking 2 years, bearing in mind the huge backlog we have as a country in courts of law.
Why so fast?
But at the supersonic speed with which this matter was decided leaves a lot to be desired. Number two, we all know the people of Kawempe. What they went through for this election, they deserve better. They took a long time without their representative, the late Segirinya, who was in jail and he subsequently passed. So people generally wanted a sigh of relief.
Yeah, true.
But when we see that they are still to be left without representation in parliament, it's a matter that touches each and every one of us. Courts, yes, they are impartial, but at the end of the day, they are not courts in heaven. They are not on cloud 9.
No. Chemutamanyi kiri kimu. Bino General Museveni yabikola tewali mulala. Wali mbadde n'omusajja n'agamba nti no, General Museveni yeefudde omulamuzi asembayo yalagira abalamuzi bakole bino byonna. Yes, kituufu. Nekimanye waliwo ssente mpitirivu ezaayibwa mu kalulu k'e Kawempe. Ne bajjayo Mamba, ne bajjayo Migi, ne bajjayo Fighter Jet, ne bajjayo buli w'amagye, ne bamugiwe Kawempe. Ssente ezaayonoonebwa ku olwo olunaku zaali mpitirivu buwumbi na buwumbi bwa ssente. Bazoonoona ne batta abantu bakola buli kimu. Oshegedde ne babba n'okubba. Ojuka eri mu nnyumba gye beekeka nga bagolola gye babasanga bapolitikinga obululu. Ssente ezaayibwawo zaali nnyingi nnyo mu ba RDC. Nga basuubiza General Museveni gwe tuwe ssente tugenda kukabba tulina okukuwa win. Nga kye baagala okulaga Kyagulanyi nti nno ensi emukyaye nti aluuzinze touch ne ground bakyamwetaaga. Okitegedde? Ssente baazoonoona baazwa ne bagula abantu bajja wa ne baleeta Kawempe balage Museveni nno balina obuwagizi. Ssente zonna okumaliriza Nalukoola abawangudde nabyo nabyo baakola ebikyafu. Nga kye balina okukola kintu eki, how can we make General Museveni happy again? Bamunyiivu. Mwala ssente zange, mwannimbalimba, muli bayaaye nnyo, kati mwangamba tulina obuwagizi, kati bino bye biki? Temanyi abavuma mwawo mulinga mazaazi samusingi. Kati they want to make him happy. Batola kwezo ssente ze yabawa empitirivu, ne bawa omulamuzi, na delivering kye baataaga in favor of them, na General Museveni kyemanyi asuze musanyufu. Okitegedde? They are trying to make the guy happy to save their jobs.
They are courts of the people who should be realizing and observing what is happening on the ground. So we really think a more people approach would have served better. But lastly, a court decision should not be expected and predetermined. It doesn't matter whether courts or the Electoral Commission has been faulted by the highest office in this land. Courts should stand the test of time. Should be equal to all. It shouldn't be rhyming what the executive, for instance, has predicated. The decisions of court should be sacrosanct, should be left within the four corners of the courtroom rather than the external influence. I thank you.
The state which is in charge of elections, the Electoral Commission that is in charge of elections, the security that was in charge of elections that ended up victimizing even us. I was a candidate of the violence of the Kawempe by-elections where JAT brutally they arrested us and dropped us in drones and then drove us around and then after a few hours we were dropped at Kawempe police station. Nice. It is very sad with all the brutality, with all our agents that were picked from different stations, that at the end of the day court has today nullified the win of our comrade Nalukoola.
what they wanted was a win. Whether what they wanted a win. Ostegedde win nebalema okufuna kumanyi g'abantu beekawempe. And they have to do whatever it takes to get back at that win. Ostegedde but bageza ku driving abatuzeeyo mu kalulu. Kumanyi kye bagenda okukola ku luno. And Koti egambye nti Nalukoola ya campaign nga ku lunaku lw'okulonda. Bino byali amoving nga agenda alemesa ababbi. Kitegeeza bwe tuddayo Nalukoola talina kuva waka, balina musibira waka. Ate basibira wa Nalukoola waka, everybody bajja kuba bamusibidde waka. Oba onfuna. Kitegeeza bajja kufuna wini gye baagala bajja kugyegabira.
This is, they are trying to prepare the country to the next coming elections, and they want to processize and show that at the end of the day, court has the powers to, even when the people have decided amidst all the challenges, they can come out and decide otherwise. They are preparing us mentally for what is coming in 2026, and they are pressing on to see on what we are capable of doing, and probably government is pushing the voices of the people to an extent, to the extreme, that they should not even go to run into these elections or come out to vote. They are trying to demoralize our voters for 2026. This is something that most Ugandans are going to see as shameful, and we hopefully we are going to make an appeal, and probably he will get justice.
There's a agreement you're seeing in this matter whereby the state can vulgarize an election to discredit it and use that as a ground to nullify it. What do you have to make of that?
Well, the Electoral Commission has to make an independent stand. It should not leave elections to be handled by the state, where we see state security agencies coming in at any time with different intentions. It could be, it was very clear that the intention this time was to make sure that these elections at the end of the day is nullified, whereby the actions made by court today clearly show that court had the powers, and to some extent they could be right. But since they are all state operatives, we think this should be condemned, and Electoral Commission should take the burden and the blame at the end of the day for everything that happened in the elections. It clearly shows that they are not fit to even prepare the next coming 2026 elections.
Yeah. This judge has made history in this world, in Uganda. It is the fastest, undoubtedly, judgment in the history of Uganda. That he had submissions of both parties.
Labayo, abadde ku mateeka, abadde ku biragiro, nga bamugamba kukola ekyo, it must be fast, nga babala eri timeline ey'emyezi 6, okitegedde, n'obadde babala, bw'odelivaringa judgment mangu, obudde tuba tukyaliyo kiza tusobola okuddayo mu kalulu ne tulangirira owaffe kye babala, naye naffe tulina obbakubisa tactic, tubalwise, tubakube eddire. Yes, kwakimanyi bwe mwanguza ati mukola apiiru, okitegedde, nabo bajja kwanguyiriza okuteekawo ennaku z'okulonda zibeere nga zigwa within manya era n'apiiru naye male wiiki emu naye apiiru eggwe, kitegeeza bafune obuddayo mu kalulu mu ddakiika 2 nga balangirire nno tugenda tuddayo kawempe, okitegeera muddeyo beewe win bo kye baagala. That's their goal.
That is last week, and he has judgments today. This is history from a new judge known Namanya.
Yeah.
However,
the
records I have, I've not yet read the judgment. I've just got it here, and I'm going to sit and read it, and I will respond in the judgment itself. But I can assure you that, and I was there in this election, there is no single polling station that was won by the NRM candidate. However, it is incumbent on Nalukoola to seek for an appeal in a higher court. But remember, we have only less than 4 months to go for nominations, and the constitution is very clear on that. So whether I like it or not, at any level, I think Nalukoola will remain in parliament, because once he appeals, the time he has to hear his appeal and the remaining period, still he will be staying in the parliament. But this man has made history. This judge has made his own history, and it will go on record that Justice Namanya managed to give a court an election petition within the shortest time ever since in Uganda.
No, I hear Namanya is an acting judge. Should this even worry?
And I wonder, but I don't know whether it's among these persons. I have less trust in many of the judges that we have just passed of recent, because the method we used to pass them is not the way we are supposed to do it. So that's why I say I can emphatically say that a number of them are cadre judges.
Okay.
But I don't want to attack the system that was carried out here.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Any judge, even his own fellow judges, are going to isolate him as a person.
But what does this mean in a broad perspective of politics? As you head to
You see, I've told that the judiciary is dwindling day by day. And it is going to continue dwindling because they are being influenced by the state.
Yeah.
There is no separation of power now.
Yeah.
They are not acting independently, but they will come out that if we had given the judgment in favor of nationality platform, then the judges would be okay. But even the public will see. I have my phone here. I am seeing NRA members quarreling, complaining, but they were involved in the election. It is terrible.
Wow.
That election petition must be handled expeditiously.
Was this handled expeditiously? I don't think. Go Gambot.
And we put a maximum period which is within the law.
6 months.
So to handle an election petition expeditiously is very good because there are issues of appeal. Myself, I participated in election petition. In the High Court, the matter went to appeal. After appeal, again was referred to the High Court in Mbale. It took us 2 years. And yet the law says within a period of 1 year or less.
6 months.
Like the presidential petitions handled within a very short period of time. But good enough, our judicial system, as much as has weakness, anybody has a right to appeal. And therefore, I don't foresee a by-election in Kawempe because of the issues of time frame. I'm sure this my colleague is going to appeal, and appeal will take time to sit. By the time the appeal is concluded, will be within the constitution time frame, barring any by-election. This ruling is basically, for the side of the NRM, is meant to please the voters of Kawempe that they were reached out. So to embolden them, to strengthen them, and to demoralize the NUP supporters and opposition supporters that they reach the election. But you can do that technically, but the population on Kawempe and the people of Uganda know which side won the election. And therefore, it is a message from the side of NRM to give themselves false comfort, but there will be no by-election. Thank you.
what does this translate into since 2020?
Bano bobbi gabayo boche baagala to make the public perceive oba to make the public be deceived oba the public buying crookedness yawe ndi Kyagulanyi takyalina buwagizi obuwagizi bwa NRM bweyongedde nga tebawaayo by-election yonna Kyagulanyi tubula by-election zonna ze tugenzeemu bazibba neziri obvious nga ziwanguddwa Kyagulanyi bazibba okitegedde naye eno yabalemye ofuna babbira tubula baaliwa omukazi 870 naye ng'obuza luvuddewa nga n'obululu olwaleeteddwa mu gundi eyo ku polling station eyo bwenkana n'abantu abaliwo okitegedde naye ng'ate obulunnambi bwafunye businga ne ballot papers ezaleeteddwa ku polling station naye ng'ate ezasigaddewo nogamba ballot papers zasigaddewo okitegedde ezaleeteddwa ate oli abaata nga afuna obululu obusinga ne ballot papers obungi ate nga zasigaddewo oba nfuna obwe bubbi bwabwe baleeta batya bonola bati ekifaananyi kya Kyagulanyi mu public nti oyo abantu bamuvuddeko abantu kati bazze okwenaalemu kyebaagala okuteeka mu bwongo bwa bannayuganda gye n'omusebe njasagala baagala okutambulira ku birimbo okitegedde kukwematiza nti afe tuli waggulu okitegedde baagala byakwematiza naye nga bakimanyi ne reality ensi tebaagala yabakoowa dda.
That shows one, the judiciary has set a good record. Justice Owiny-Dollo, the Chief Justice, we hope that all election petition will be concluded within a period of less than 6 months. And we hope they will live by their words. To me, any justice delayed is justice denied.
You have been here for some time. Do you think can this even appease you that it is genuine?
It is so surprising that we are seeing the court, the would-be Holy Temple of Justice, again compiling injustices. Court shouldn't be used as gumboots to step over on the unstoppable circumstances.
Wow, it's true. You get the nsonga. Court is Uganda, Jino Museveni azikozesa mu nsonge. Bweti. Muteeko omugere ku bulago bwabo benvuganya tembakiza kuvaayo munyweze na munyweza uyo atoloka uyo. Kyayagala Jino Museveni. Abataako omugere ng'akozesa court. Nabba bukimu ng'akozesa court. Nagayo ati court yasazeewo bwatu bwabikola. Okitegedde. Tulina kubanga tulabayo.
Court should not be used as a tool to fight against people's sovereignty, because this is a constitutional mandate that is granted to the people of Kawempe to elect a leader of their own choice. They have the powers and the authorities to take a decision on who shall lead them and how through a free and fair regular election. Where government fails to prevail the fairness within an election, then it causes and it comes out to try people before courts and it influences courts, then it is so much unpleasant, and this is a defilement to the sovereignty of the people, which government would have protected, and the court would prevail, would see court preventing such occurrences within the public.
What you said, what government wanted in this case?
That government is looking for in this case is one to get a precedent which can be applied in
2026
other consequential judgments of the similar case, and I think also to threaten to demotivate opposition side and its supporters so that they don't fully get involved into an election. Because one time, the president, when he was in Kayunga by-election, quoted a statement that it is NRM to have a final say. Even if opposition dance to its finest tune, it cannot make it. So I think government is fighting much to see that it fulfills its own statement. But this is not good. It is undermining and provoking. It is an underlook and a violation of people's sovereignty, which is a constitutional mandate. I think it wants to discipline the people of Kawempe not to be represented in the parliament.
True.
Because the first representative, all the occurrences that were embedded on him were known public-wide. And now the second replacement has also been terminated.
Waliwo kye ndowooza. Mujjukira Sseginya bali baagala omufunza omuzza mu ngalo zaabwe. Ojjukira kye baakola. Baakozesa oli omusajja yali yeesimbyewo, yali wano ku DP, yali asoba amuwambira South Korea eyo. Omusajja Kidandala. N'agenda mu kkooti n'awabira Ssegirinnya nti teyasoma. Okitegedde. Ne bateekamu Ssegirinnya akatengo. Era nga embeera zonna ezaalo zaali zagana Ssegirinnya bagenda mujja mu parliament. Omanyi kye baakola? Baatuma mpunga n'atwala Ssegirinnya wa Museveni ne basaza ddiiru. Togenda kuva mu parliament kola ABCD. Ssegirinnya n'abikola era ne bamuleka mu parliament. Naye be baamuwa okukola ate yatuuka n'ava ku mulamwa kate nga omusango gwaggwa tebikyaddayo. Okitegedde nga balina kumweliminatinga. Baakituukereza. Kati bagezaako kye baakola Ssegirinnya okumufuula weak, okumusabujutinga, okumuteeka wansi w'ebigere byabwe bamufukamize, abafukaamirire, byabafukaamirira, baagala bakikolera ku Nalukoola. Balaba ali eri mubire waggulu. Tumufudde tutya owaffe, tumufukamiza tutya, tumufuleese tutya kulooza. So bino byonna bagezaako kuleeta Nalukoola kulooza tubo. Abafukaamirire, bamufuule abakombe ebigere nga kye bamugamba kyakola. Ajje bakiyita batya. Abeere nga nakyawuliriza bya kibiina kye bimugamba. Ekano akatabani ka Ssegirinnya kali kamukwata ensawo bye kaliko olwaleero. Bakujja ku mikiiko kibiina olw'obusente bwe bakuwadde. Kati ng'olina kugoberera bo kati be bakatonda bo. Okitegedde munnange ate bebanese mu parliament. Tebaagala okuteeka ne ku Nalukoola. Baagala muvugamuzamu eyo situation. Agenda bana ate kati muzigirayo ki mu parliament ate nkoze kinammwe mundeke. Kati mubadde mugamba kitugamba nti ABCD kikola kino. mugenda okulaba Nalukoola yali wammwe takyali wammwe. Nalukoola yagala ogera byammwe takyayogera byammwe. Nalukoola ng'avumbeera. Nalukoola yali alembeera nakyalembegerera.
So this is a whole caste punishment which government is applying to the people of Kawempe to stay without representation in parliament, which is their constitutional right that cannot be underrated.
It is sad for them, but I think we should allow organs of government to do their work. I, as macho, there is nothing I can play in that part because my role as a legislature from Hubusia, I would have felt best to say continue with our colleague, but that is how the court has rolled. And since we are in a democratic dispensation, and we should allow all organs of government to do their work. Yeah. But good enough, they have a way to appeal to see how, in case they have big reasons that can hold on to make sure that they retain that proposition. But this is common in growing democracy. And in growing democracies that allow organs of government to participate, it really...
Kale, byebyo, nabo mbawulidde. Labe kiri ku screen yange. Kale, byebyo, mbawulidde abaka ba parliament boozogeddeko ensonga z'omukulu Nalukoola naye ekyobomanya baagala kuteeka Nalukoola mu nkwawa babeere nga bamukozesa bye beetaaga. Okitegedde baagala muteeka ku mavi abeere nga agende munawe tokulya nga mpuga munonye nti yangu tugende weetondera abasajja yangu tugende abasajja begaire bakuleke mu parliament baagala muteeka awo okulaba bamulage nti obubeera omupaka kwa parliament kya kitalo nnyo bw'otaba omupaka kwa parliament owedde jangu ogende wegaire abasajja bakulekeyo kati bwakkiriza Nalukoola n'agenda neyeegayirira abasajja abakaweddemu bamulindirira kuziika okwokubiri okwa Ssegirinya alina Nalukoola tugenda kumuziika aziika Ssegirinya kitalo nnyo naye tulina okufuna abantu abastanding ku ground zaabwe abantu abalina eddoboozi abantu abatatiitira nga ne bagamba bamunzijeyo munzijeyo saaza lwakuba ku mubaka wa parliament eva oba munzijeyo munzijeyo mukitwale mukitikwale okitegedde tuna abantu abatiitiraho ate mbadde ndidde ku musaala omanyi basuka ne bakokonya n'ogulyako nosavuwala banze mbadde nga sizifunangako buli wiiki bampa obukadde buna bannange bakusaavisinga alina omwezi nfuna banneekana kasende nga kawoma novulubana bomala okufulubana n'osavuwalenga nga bakwatamu ati okubamu akafaananyi okuleka omusende guno ogubadde ofuna gabannange ngende negayirira abasajja si byakyagulanyi mu bipopa maliriza otomedde nga tukozise nga Ssegirinya